The spirited vitality of these machines belies the fact that they are on their way to extinction. A last attempt to save them as an economically viable form of motive power for South Africa was made in the early 80s, when a host of special refinements was added to the basic design. The prototype, affectionately known as the Red Devil, was bred for power, speed, and fuel efficiency. In short, for performance. In fact, so eager to perform was she, that she tripped over her own feet in doing so. With so much extra power, she rather lost her grip on the rails. She wasn't at her best slipping and sliding out of a station, but once let loose on the open road, she was a stunning performer.
Well, here it is. I'm finally getting around to explaining who this engine is and why I created him. In my Bwabba rewrite, I wanted Kenya to play a bigger role in the Bwabba era, so I needed there to be more engines for Thomas to meet than just Kwaku and Nia. That's where Red Devil sort of came in. I had actually already thought of Red Devil beforehand, and was planning on just making him one of my personal OCs, with no connection to the series. How I thought of Red Devil to begin with was due to inspiration from a very unlikely source. At first he was meant to be a joke OC, but then I got way too into creating a backstory and lore for him, and the rest is history. Now, Red Devil is actually based on someone in real life, but I'm not going to say who since it's pretty self-explanatory. Red Devil is actually based off the locomotive located in South Africa of the same name. Now, the livery I didn't just give to him to reference his inspiration. The engine actually wore it in real life for an event in the late 80s. You're probably wondering what's wrong with his face. Why is he wearing a mask? Well, because they're real comfortable. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's not actually a mask, since train-sized masks don't exist. It's actually just paint. How he came to have it is simple. One day, a can of red paint fell on Red Devil's face while resting at the works. When he looked in a mirror, he liked the look of it, and from that day forth, it stuck. I was originally going to put him in my rewrite for the Great Race as a contestant for the strength competition. But I decided against it since it wouldn't make sense for Thomas not to know him in Bwabba if he saw him at the Great Race, and he probably wouldn't have done much anyway since half the cast introduced in the Great Race did little to nothing. Introducing Red Devil in Bwabba made way more sense anyway, since Tanzania is closer to his railway in South Africa, and his basis had just finished its almost 15-year overhaul by the time the Bwabba movie came out. And now we get to his backstory and lore. Red Devil is a celebrity loved by everyone all over Africa, but he doesn't let that get to him. He's most famous for his rail tours all over Africa. He can seem intimidating and scary at first glance, but he's actually quite friendly once you get to know him. Nia and him are very good friends. She gets excited whenever he gets to stop by Kenya or Tanzania since it's a rarity due to him being busy. Nia looks up to Red Devil as a role model and inspired her to want to see the world just like our #1 tank engine. However, Red Devil says it requires proper planning and takes a lot of time out of your schedule, which upsets Nia, but Kwaku tells Nia to have hope that she'll get her chance one day. It comes sooner than expected when she eventually meets Thomas. Speaking of Thomas, Red Devil Meet Nia and Thomas at Dar es Salaam with Kwaku in the Blobber movie asking Nia where she's off to. Thomas is amazed to find another engine as famous as he, and the same could be said for Red Devil. Red Devil was actually hiding from rail tourist fans, and when they started chasing him with cameras again, he said goodbye and fled. Red Devil was also one of the engines that Satopo Matt asked for the whereabouts of Thomas while looking for him in Tanzania. Red Devil's main language is English, but he's also fluent in Swahili and other African languages. Originally, Red Devil was a normal South African Class 25 tender engine, but when his controller wanted to fight dieselization in the 1980s, he was the subject to many modifications. Due to his red paint, he was nicknamed the Red Devil. On his first run with the modifications, however, he had intense wheel slippage, which the other engines teased him for, but after his performance on the main line, they decided to keep the mods and fixed his wheel slip problem. Now he's respected by all. Well, almost all, if you exclude his cousin Tucker, who I'm sure you all know is based off as well. For people who don't know, Red Devil is on the same level of popularity in South Africa as Flying Scotsman is in the UK, so it would make sense for him to be considered a celebrity and have rail tourists swarm him like paparazzi. Now this wheel slip problem is actually a real-life problem his bassist has. I originally wanted the story of how he kept his mods to be centered around him saving some children from a nasty fire, but I thought it too dark, so I just turned it into a remade version of Edward's exploit. He was also planned to go blind in one eye due to the fire, but that was also scrapped as well. I plan to write more stories on Red Devil in the future. I already have one up on my channel, titled Daredevil, so you can check that out if you like. I also might have him in as a special guest appearance in my Marvelous Machinery rewrite, since he is it would make sense for him to be at the festival. I also may do more of these videos where I go into more depth with my OCs. Let me know which one you want a video done on in the comments. Bye!